This is the Real Estate Investing 365 podcast, your go-to source for real estate investing strategies so you can start living the life you want and get where you want to go. With your host, Justin Hanna.
Hey, Diego, thanks for being here, my man. Great to have you back a second time. If anybody knows, he was on back towards the beginning of the show. And if you want to hear that one, just go back and search Diego. Again, I wasn't a good host and didn't look up the number, and my phone's kind of goofy. So Diego, thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it.
Justin, thank you very much for the opportunity to be a guest for the second time.
Yeah. Returning guest. That's it.
Returning guest.
And Diego was one of my most popular episodes up until now. And this will probably be the same thing because you have such a cool story. And it's actually, right now in our political climate, you know what I mean? I mean, we're recording this in January, 21st. So Biden just got elected in, whether you love him or hate him. There's been a lot of controversy with like the immigration and DACA recipients and all that stuff. And you are a DACA, what do you call them? Like DACA kid or a DACA dreamer?
Yeah, so I'm a DACA recipient. Yeah, so I'm a dreamer that's under the DACA program.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like, you hear people on one side to say they don't like it, and people on the other side saying they do love it. But either way, all I know is that there's tons of people like you out there, and you come here and you're like killing it in business, killing it in real estate, killing it and helping everybody do everything. So it's awesome that you're still here and everything's going great. So why don't you give people a little rundown of where you came from, how you got here, the DACA program, like your whole little backstory.
Yeah, for sure. So I currently I am what Congress calls a dreamer, right? I am a DACA recipient. I came to the United States when I was 9 years old from Lima, Peru, and moved to Florida. Came here with my parents and my brother, and we came here with a visa, and after 6 months, which was the time allotted that we had to be here, we overstayed it. And at that point, that's when we became undocumented immigrants. But I had no idea what it really meant until I turned 15 years old, which was like my turn to get my driver's license. And at that time, I wasn't able to get my driver's license, but I put all of my emphasis into school so that I could just like do what my parents were telling me, right? It's like, look, we came to the United States, you have to get an education. So I graduated third in my high school class, got to college, but I found out as I was applying for college that I couldn't qualify for student loans or financial aid. So that was another obstacle because they were asking for my for my documents saying that I was either American or I had a green card. So that was another obstacle. And so I ended up going to college for one semester. And then there was a nonprofit that wanted to hire me because I was doing a lot of work for them to get experience for free. And they're like, Diego, you've done more work as a freshman. There was some seniors doing a year. So I'm like, great. I submit the application and they said, Diego, everything's looking good, but we need your work authorization. So I call my parents and I'm like, Mom, I'm going to get employed, but I need my work permit. And she's like, we don't have that. So I'm 19 years old, cannot work, cannot drive, can't get student loans. And I'm like, holy crap, it's just obstacle and obstacle and obstacle, right? But at the end of the day, it taught me resourcefulness. And I always remember what my dad told me, that the US is a land of opportunity, but it is up to us to find it. So like I had that ingrained in me and I'm like, okay, so it's always been that I work more than other people. But
so you got to this point, 19 years old, and you really had no idea that, because obviously you're a kid, like kids don't know anything, they're just going about their merry life, going to school, messing around. And then so all of a sudden it comes to a point where you're going to get a job from this nonprofit and you find out you don't have a work permit. So that's like kind of like the first time you're like, oh shoot, like something might be kind of goofy here.
Yeah. It's like it's sort of those things that like, you just never know. Like as a kid, I grew up, but it doesn't hit you until you begin to get those obstacles.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happened? So you got resourcefulness. It's a land opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I found out that I could open my own company, even though I couldn't work. So because of the work that I was doing, which was IT, I was doing websites for small businesses or nonprofits while I was in college at FSU. And I remember that like with my LLC, they would pay my LLC instead as a contractor instead of Diego. And that's what my way to pay for college. But as I was graduating, that's when the Obama administration passes the DACA program that would allow to people like me, after going through a very like deep background search on me,
Mm-hmm.
they would give us a driver's license and a work permit. So it wasn't until I was 22 years old that I was graduating with 2 bachelor's degrees, and I was finally gonna be able to work and drive. So it was a great opportunity, because at that point it was sort of like, okay, now I'm done with college. I had to go through whatever obstacles I had to go through. And then now that I'm technically like an adult now, about to get my real job and all this other stuff, that's when I got hired to be a software developer for General Motors, and they offered me a job. They were like, "Do you want to go to Detroit or Austin?" And I chose Austin, and it was the best choice that I could have ever made.
Yeah, no, that's true. We were just talking offline, and I was telling him, I was like, man, every time I watch your Instagram stories or we're talking back and forth, I see how sunny and beautiful it is there. And I'm like, man, it's like right now, literally it's snowing up here.
Yeah.
So none of that down there in Austin.
And that's exactly what I told them. I was like, look, I don't like the snow. I lived in Florida my whole life, and I don't want to be in the cold. So I chose Austin. Yeah.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
And we go way more into detail in your story and how all that transpired and all that stuff in the first episode. So if you guys want to dig deeper on that, be sure to go back and listen to that first episode. Or, Diego's on hundreds of other podcasts and all that stuff, so you can find them all over the place. Big old famous Diego that I got here.
Oh man.
So now fast forward, you kind of got into real estate. You discovered real estate investing. You decided to become a real estate agent. So kind of walk me through, why did you decide to become a real estate agent and not stick into the software development field?
Yeah, the main thing was, so I wanted to invest in real estate. I had set a goal when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad at the age of 21, that I wanted to own 10 properties by age 35. I accomplished that by age 27, but it was like, because I knew that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get started, and because I didn't know anybody in Austin, I didn't know the market, I didn't know anything. I decided, what better way than to get my license so that I can learn about it. And that became my side hustle, and working full time as a software developer, and the nights and weekends or during lunch, showing homes, doing open houses, whatever. And it wasn't until 2015 that I left my job and I went all into real estate as a realtor.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And so a lot of people think they're going to get into real estate investing. They're like, oh, they wonder if they should or shouldn't get their license. Generally, what I say when they ask me that is like, well, if you're only going to do a deal or two a year, it's probably not worth it. Or if you're going to be going like direct to sellers, like sending out mailers or cold calling or doing some of that stuff, maybe you don't want to, because there's some extra laws that's involved with like being an agent and the Association of Realtors and all that stuff.
Exactly. And it's also, at the end of the day, it's like a job, right? Like a lot of people say, hey, I want to invest in real estate, so I'm going to become a wholesaler. It's like, well, wholesaling and investing are two different things.
Right.
So it's the same thing. An agent, if you're a single agent, it's a job. If you're a wholesaler, it's a job. You just have to choose what is that occupation, right? Because you can still, if people are calling for leads, you can call people that want to list their home on the MLS, or you can call for leads for people that are looking to get a cash offer in 2 weeks. Same amount of work. I just chose real estate as a realtor.
As a realtor. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's a good thing. So, I want to jump into the real estate investing side, but since there is a lot of people that are interested in becoming an agent, let's touch on, you've become a very successful agent. I think you have your own team now. You're part of Keller Williams brokerage. What are the steps kind of like to become a successful agent? Because there's tons of agents. Like here in Boise where I'm at, I think there's like 700,000 or 800,000 people in the valley. and there's like 7,000 agents. You know what I mean? Like 1 in 10
Yeah.
people here are agents. So some of them
Yeah.
are successful, some aren't. How do you go about that? How do you become like a successful agent?
Yeah, so I always like to say you have to choose your unfair advantage. Everybody has an unfair advantage. You just have to
Mhm.
choose what that is, right? And this goes for even for like investors that are trying to create like a partnership or something like that. As a realtor, my unfair advantage was that I was working for General Motors and I decided to buy my first house to house hack. And I became that example for all of my other friends. Now, I'm really transparent with my numbers and stuff. So I was making 60K as a software developer,
Mhm.
and I knew that all my other friends were making around that too. So I'm like, they're going to be able to buy a home sooner or later for sure. So I began to teach them. And instead of being a salesperson, like a lot of people are, like in realtors, are like, oh, you got to close them. You got to be in sales. Like you're a salesperson. No, I took more the education hat. So I began to educate people on what I was doing to create also like passive income through house hacking. And once I got other people to do what I was doing, then other people began to share my name with others. And fortunately, I've done all of the deals that I do, if it's been by referral only. I don't spend money on like ads online or PPC or anything like that. I don't call. It's been just by referrals, which is great. But that was my unfair advantage, right? It was like my coworkers that later began once I began to get a little bit more out there,
Mhm.
then I met people outside of my work, and then I got recommended by others. So
Okay.
yeah, but always the education hat,
Mhm.
and just sharing on social media, sharing your story. Sharing story is very impactful.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes a ton of sense. So coming from a place of contribution, as opposed to
Mhm.
like coming from a place of you wanting just to make the money, right?
Yeah.
Which, if you're gonna get into being a real estate agent, I would always think it's a great time to have it as your side hustle, as long as you plan to like treat it as a business and grow. Um,
Mhm.
because, like you said, if you treat it from a place of contribution and trying to teach them, it might take a little bit longer to like really get in there, but you're going to build like a better foundation and a better client base. So now you do, how many deals did you do in 2020, or
I
transactions?
Yeah, I did 56 transactions as a realtor. I sold
56
56
transactions.
homes.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
those are all referral, right? So that's
they're
like
all
great.
referral.
Yeah. A lot of people are doing 10 a year and they're out there freaking showing houses to cold calling people and all kinds of weird stuff. And it's like a grind, right? Um,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
okay, that's awesome. Any input on choosing the correct brokerage, whether it's Keller Williams or EXP or any of these?
Yeah, I mean, from that perspective, I would just say go to the one that's gonna, especially if you're starting out, go to the one that's gonna provide the best education.
Mm,
Um, because for example, EXP or KW, they don't give you leads, but it's like just choosing what education you might want to do, and it's up to you to also decide if you want to join a team or you want to be by yourself. So for example, that I did 56 by myself, but the team between me and my business partner and the other agents in my team, we did over 110 or 120. Um, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter as much as you're willing to hustle for it.
okay, so explain real quick, what is the team difference? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah. So within the team, right? If I was doing 56 deals by myself without like, so I have a transaction coordinator that he works for our team full time. He's our
Mhm.
office manager. So he does all of the paperwork. He answers some emails in relating to the title company, stuff like that. And then I do stuff like showing homes. I meet with clients. I do podcasts like these, for example, and that allows me to build more relationships to get more clients. So me and my business partner, he does the same thing as I do, and then we
Mhm.
have two other agents in the team that we added last year, and now they are also getting their own leads, and we're basically like teaching them, we're mentoring them on how we build our business from that perspective.
Okay. So yeah, so it's kind of like Keller Williams is like the national brokerage that you're going to work under, and you're going to
Mhm.
hang your license under the local Keller Williams uh, branch. But within
Yes.
that, you can start your own team, which is what you and your business partner did, which is like almost like a mini brokerage under Keller Williams. So it's your own real estate company. And
Mhm.
then, so you still use all of Keller Williams training and techniques, and you use their legal counsel and that sort of thing,
Everything. Yeah.
but you guys run your business however you want to run it. You bring on the agents you want to bring on, you bring on your own transaction coordinator. And the benefit to that is like, I would assume this is what I've heard is that if you go to work just for like a big brokerage or whatever, they might not have the time to train you individually. But if you join a team, it's smaller. You're working directly with the team owner. He can teach you, they can teach you exactly how they want it to be done. And it's more of a hands-on approach where you'll learn more quickly. You might not make
Mhm.
quite as much on a transaction, but you're going to do way more transactions. Is that kind of
Exactly.
correct? Okay.
Exactly. Exactly. Like that experience is it can definitely be invaluable, especially for people that are starting out.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. So you got into to be a real estate agent because you wanted to invest in real estate. So obviously you did that. You said you reached 10 homes by the time you're 27. How old are you now for one, and how many properties do you have?
Yeah, so I turned 30 years old last year in August.
Oh man, 30s. What a
Um,
bummer, huh?
yeah.
I'm there too, so
Yeah. Yeah. It was weird because I've always been like, yes, I've done this in my like I'm 29, this and that. But yeah, now I'm 30.
yeah.
And the story doesn't count as school anymore.
Uh-huh.
But it's all good. I own right now around 20. So I'm in the middle of a 1031 exchange right now that when I'm going from a quadplex to another quadplex, once that closes, I should be at around 25 doors, I think.
Okay.
25 doors, 24 doors.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
And are those properties local or are you buying those out of state?
Yeah, so my portfolio consists of 4 properties here in Austin, which I wish I bought more because the market here is booming.
Yeah.
But it's okay. It wasn't what I was investing for.
Sure.
I own 15 doors Airbnb in the Smokies with a business partner. I'm more of like the silent partner. He's
Mhm.
the property management. He's the hands-on guy. He finds the deals. I own like six. I own a property in Antioch, Tennessee, and then I own 6 doors in Florida, 6 or 7. But one of those is like the quadplex that I'm buying in McAllen, Texas now.
Oh, okay. So you're selling four in Florida and you're buying four more in
Mhm.
McAllen, Texas. How did you come up with that McAllen, Texas
Yeah,
location?
so there's a connection that I have over there. There's a person in my mastermind that she bought a quadplex, and it was like in a row where there's new builds.
Hmm.
And then as I was asking her, and she was very diligent with the numbers, I was like, new build, because the quadplex that I had in Florida, I had bought for 100K in a C minus neighborhood, and it needed a lot of capex. And I'm like, I do not want to deal with that.
Yeah.
So we found a buyer for 195. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not have. Yeah, no, it was not worth 195. But he paid for cash, and he bought it sight unseen without inspections. I'm like, cool. And so now I'm doing the 1031 exchange to that one. So I'm taking the money from there to buy that quadplex.
How is the numbers look on the quadplex down there?
Yeah. So the numbers on that quadplex, we're gonna be buying it if everything goes well for 410 or 415, and it's gonna bring around 4100. So around the 1% rule. But what I love about it is it's brand new.
Brand new. Right. So that's kind of something you like, it's good to think about is like, okay, if you're looking at a property and your rate of return on it, and let's say you look at a property and it's like, oh, this is going to give me 10% return, but it was built in 1979 and hasn't been updated in a while. Well, your initial looking at it rate of return might be higher than a new build, but the new build is going to have a higher rate of return over time because it's not going to have all the maintenance, all the upkeep. You're probably going to get better tenants. You're not going to have as much turnover, that sort of thing. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's actually really good. Meeting the 1% rule. with a brand new build. I mean,
Yeah.
did you know a lot about the market before you went there, or?
No, I actually went there 2 weeks ago, but in just hearing how she was sharing like her whole journey of when she bought it and all this other stuff, I
Mm,
just knew that it was gonna like it seemed like a good deal. And when that opportunity came up, um I drove to McAllen like 4.5 hours from Austin. And yeah, we saw it, we saw the area. I met somebody there that has like 80 units as an apartment building. So I just asked him a lot of questions, and he was telling me certain things that I did like. For example, that before people will graduate high school and then they would leave to go to Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, whatever, and then now they're staying, which for
mm.
me is great because at that point I know that the population growth is going to continue to grow, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, heck yeah. That's one of the most important things to look for. You don't really want to go to a place that population is decreasing. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, you do have a mastermind you mentioned, and this isn't a sales pitch for his mastermind. It just happens to be that you have one, and it's
Yeah.
a rat race to FI, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I want to dive in a little bit on that. Like, how do people get out of the rat race? Because obviously, I just did, and
Mm-hmm.
it took a long time, a lot of planning, and it's very risky. Not risky, but it's like nerve wracking, right?
Mm-hmm.
To do that. And it doesn't mean I won't ever go back to work, because I might. And kind of talk about how people can do that. Like, what are the steps? Like, what should they be
Yeah.
looking for? What can they plan for? How can they make that happen?
Yeah. Yeah. So here's what I would say. One, and I don't know if I shared this, I think I shared this story in the first podcast, but I got into a group of millionaires when I wasn't a millionaire. And when I was 23 years old, 24, and they became my mentors. So in me being a fly on the wall with all of them,
Mhm.
there are 6 key things that I've learned and that I've implemented in my life that have helped me, number one, become financially independent. And that I know, and technically, I mean, I left the rat race, if you want to call it, me quitting software to go into real estate. But at the end of the day, these are the 6 key things. Number one is managing your personal finances. You have to understand how much money is coming in, how much is coming out, so that you know how much money you have to invest from that perspective. Number two is scheduling personal development. It is super important to have your mindset right, especially because there's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of naysayers. So you
Yeah.
just have to have you have to have a strong mindset. Number three, it is knowing the importance of your peer group and your tribe. So your peer group should set the standard in your life. And when I because I've been surrounding myself with the guys in Go Abundance, for example, which is a mastermind, they just raised my standard because it was normal for them to be buying homes, to be investing in properties, to having businesses. So it was sort of like, I'm either gonna quit or I'm gonna make it happen, and I really want to make it happen. So then number four is goal setting, but with accountability. So it's very easy, especially with New Year resolutions. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But if there's nobody to hold you accountable, you're not going to make it happen. It's too easy to create excuses. Number five is creating a side hustle.
Mhm.
So doing that one thing, like maybe you're very skilled at something and you can choose to do that. Even if you're not skilled at something, do Uber or Lyft or clean houses. Like even though I had a job with GM, I
Mhm.
still did websites that I would find off of Craigslist. I would do websites over the weekends, and then I became a realtor, right? That was my side hustle for a year and a half. And then the last one, key number six, is investing for passive income. And that was what allowed me to leave my corporate job, was because I began house hacking. So I was living for free. My car payment was getting paid by other people. And because I couldn't get into student loans, I didn't have any student debt, which was a blessing in disguise years later. I was able to I was able to take a calculated risk. Just like you said, it is risky, but if you do it with a calculated risk, when you have maybe some like passive income that you know that you can live off, or 50% of passive income, and then your side hustle can get you there. Like you can spend more time in your side hustle later after you quit, then you're good. So that's what I did, and that's one of the things that I like to teach people in getting out of the rat race. You have to master the other five before you start investing for passive income.
Yeah, totally. And a lot of people, there's like this stigma that goes with it. It's like, oh, you want to like be financially independent, so that means you just want to have enough money to pay all your bills and then not do anything anymore. Just like retire young. I don't think that's what it really is. You know what I mean? For me, it's like when I think of my financial independence, it's like, well, I just want to be able to choose what I do. I don't want to have to go work all night, or I don't want to have to go work this weekend. If I want to, I want to be able to do it. And a lot of times, what you'll probably find this is like the more financially free you get and the more investments you have, you might find yourself working more, but you
Hmm.
kind of like it, right? You kind of enjoy
Yeah,
doing the work, right? It's like part of who you are now. So you're getting to choose. It's the freedom to choose what you want to be doing, um,
exactly. Exactly.
which is awesome. You mentioned there number 5, I think, was a side hustle. So I've heard both ways about that. I've heard one is like have a side hustle, so you're having multiple streams of income, or two, I've heard like just hammer down on the one thing that's making the most money and like max that out as much as you can. Can you kind of speak on the differences between those two mindsets?
Yeah. So it really depends. There has to be an end goal, right?
Hmm.
Because for example, I my side hustle began being becoming a realtor, and and the goal was to go at it full time. Some people may not want to do something full time, but it gets them to an end goal,
Hmm.
right? Maybe it is saving. Hey, I'm going to do this side hustle until I save $20,000 so that I can buy this next property, and then I'm going to forget about that side hustle. Great. So you have to have an end goal in mind of what you want to do, because if not, if you don't like it, for example, but you know you have to do it because you have an end goal in mind, then that's fine, right? But if
Hmm.
not, if you don't like it and you're just doing it just because, you're not going to be happy, and I don't know if that will be worth it. There has to be an end goal in mind.
Right. Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And I think it might be the last episode. I don't know which order they come out in, but I was just talking about this with Allie Boone. I just had her on, and she was talking about the excuse me, 3 things she looks at when she's doing whether she's buying something or starting a new business. She like looks at, is it going to give her more time, make her more money, and give her more sanity, right? So it has to meet
Mm,
like two of those 3 things at least. And it's like, if you're doing your side hustle, okay, is it a means to an end? So it's going to make you more money, that'll eventually give you more time, which will eventually give you more sanity. Then maybe stick with it for a while. But if you're doing something that just drives you crazy, um, and you're not finding peace in it or pleasure in it, and all it's doing is giving you money, but you don't have an end goal, like you're saying, well, maybe scratch that and do something else. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
uh,
I
that's
just wrote those down. That's freaking awesome.
yeah,
So it
she's
was
great.
more money, more time, or more sanity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
She
cool.
looks at, she says she looks at everything in life like that now. And granted, she has a little more free time. She has more money and things than some of us, that when you're getting started, you got to grind it out. You got to do stuff you don't like to do.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
the goal should be to get those 3 things. We brought up the fact of having a housekeeper, when you have kids, or a nanny, or rich people buying a jet, right? It's like those help those 3 options always. So just an interesting little thought there.
Yeah.
So I wanted to touch before we kind of transition out here is that you mentioned mentorship, right? You got into GoBundance and how important that was. You have your own little mentor tribe that you're helping people out. Why is mentorship so important? Like I talk about it all the times because I really believe in it.
Hmm.
Like, what's the point of it? Why should people have that?
Yeah, it's really important because, so at the end of the day, everybody has friends, right? And your friends are comfortable with your presence, but your coach or your mentor is going to be comfortable with your future. Like they're pushing you for a
Ooh,
better
that's good.
future,
I like that.
right?
Yeah.
This is that's a quote from Rock Thomas, one of my mentors.
Okay.
And so at the end of the day, it's sort of like your coaches, your mentors, they see something in you that you may not see in yourself. And everybody that's successful, you can look at Michael Jordan, anybody that's a gold medal in the
Mhm.
Olympics has a coach. There's nobody that doesn't have a coach in the Olympics, right? So
Mhm.
if you want to win a gold medal in life, in your occupation, in your job, in whatever you want to do in your business, you need to have some kind of mentors or some kind of coach, even if it doesn't have to be like a coach, but just like a mentor or somebody that you can bounce off ideas. At the end of the day, that's it, right? And you want to make sure that you're also learning from somebody that's 1 or 2 steps ahead of you. Maybe you can look at somebody that's 100 steps ahead of you, but like 1 to 2, that's a mentor. That can be a coach.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Even Ed Milet says he has coaches or mentors, right?
Mhm.
Ed Milet's worth 500 or 600 million dollars, whatever it is, and he has people that he looks up to above him. So if he needs mentors, we all should have somebody that we're kind of looking up to too. And like you said, yeah, 1 to 2 steps is good because it's still relevant enough that they're able to give you actionable steps, I would assume.
Mhm.
Whereas if you have somebody that's so far ahead of you, it's like, well, you guys are in different worlds right now, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe when you get up a couple rungs on the ladder, you guys can reconnect. But
Yeah.
definitely,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
I'm
that's one of the things, and not to like plug in my mastermind or anything here, but that's one of the reasons why, like, when you're looking for a mentor, you have to understand who your mentor is going to be, or like what they have accomplished, right?
mhm,
The idea is that if you're in chapter 2 in your life, you want to make sure that you're learning from somebody who's like in chapter 5 or chapter 10. You're
yeah,
not going to go from somebody, like if you're reading Harry Potter, you're not going to go with a mentor that's like in the Lord of the Rings. Like it's completely different, right? So
right.
you have to look at it at that chapter that is doing something similar that you want to do.
Mhm,
So for example, for me, I'm mentoring people that are getting their first property, whether it is to house hack or their first out of state property, or maybe they're 1 to 4, like
mhm,
1 to 4 properties. But if you come to me, you're like, Diego, I want to buy an apartment building. I want to buy a 16 unit. Can I join your mastermind? I'll be straight up and I tell you, dude, you're not going to learn anything. I cannot teach you that because
right.
I haven't done it, right?
Mhm,
But I can teach people how to do many things that are more at the starting point. So that is, for example, my avatar. A lot of people, like, you should ask, like, when you want to join a mastermind or mentor or something, like, ask who is their avatar.
yeah, no, that's totally good, and I like that. You should be able to tell the person you're looking at to be your mentor what you want to do, and if they're always just everything you say you want to do, they're just like, oh yeah, I'll help you do that, oh yeah, I'll help you do that. Maybe they're not the best mentor. Like you telling people, hey, I don't think I'm the right person for you, because you have your set people that you really truly care about helping. Like you want to help them and you know how to help them, and so you don't
Mm-hmm.
want to get out of your lane there. So that's like an important thing to look for. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So tell me, what's the plans in the future for Diego? Like, where are you trying to go? What's like the next 3 years look like? 5 years is
Yeah.
too far to really know. Like, anything can happen in 5 years. One
Yeah.
year is like, well, we're in it, not short enough. So,
Yeah.
3 years. What's 3 years look like?
Yeah. What's so interesting right now is that I learned the power of personal brand.
Hmm.
And it's something that I always knew about, like, from that perspective. And being on your podcast, for example, for the first episode that I was in, um that is great. But after being on the Bigger Pockets podcast, that one, like, it put me, like, I got 1,000 new followers on Instagram in one weekend. And then from there, just leveraging the social media and sharing stories and like all of that stuff, that is what allowed me to create this mastermind group, right?
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
it was just through social media. So now that I've understand that, I've also started. So ever since that BP podcast came out and my social brand went up, I started to leverage also connecting with other people. So for example, right now I have my so I'm a realtor, but I have my mastermind group. That's number one. I have, through that, we connected with somebody who does drop shipping products from Home Depot on Amazon. So then I started a drop shipping store with Felipe Mejia, who is the other coach in Rat Race to FI.
Mm.
And then we partner up with Christian, who's the guy who showed us the drop shipping, to now teach other people. So now I've created like 3 sort of like businesses in 2020, because all of this happened in 2020.
Yeah.
And and now between the 3 of us, we're creating a credit repair company. So we have the mentorship, the teaching others how to do it, the credit repair company, and
mastermind.
yeah, and the mastermind. But
plus your rental businesses, plus the real estate business. So
yes,
streams of income.
Exactly. But if you listen to but if you check out the 6 steps, right? Those 6 keys that I shared, everything encompasses something that I'm passionate about, which is helping other people get started in real estate. That's like my passion. Yeah. So because I know that I can change their lives, and that is what fires me up. So if you look at that, sort of like, we have the mentorship. We can, if you have problems with your credit, that's what we're creating, the credit repair company. And if you're like, Diego, my credit's great, but I don't have a side hustle and my job doesn't pay me, you can start drop shipping on Amazon, like through e-commerce. So like, everything that I've done is what I'm teaching, because it has helped me get to a certain level in life from that perspective. And that's what fires me up. Awesome. So in the next 3 years, I'm going to be leveraging more my personal brand to continue helping other people through all of these different things that I've created.
Perfect. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Real quick on the personal brand, a lot of people want to get more into the personal brand. Like, what are some keys to like growing, like, let's say Instagram, because Instagram's like number one. What should they do? Do they just need to be doing more stories, doing more posts? Like, do they just use hashtags? Like, what's the deal? How do they kind of grow that?
Yeah, the main thing for me has been in creating value for other people that they share on my stories. Like, I might do a story and then other people might want to share it. So then I put it as a post, and that's been pretty good. Being on different podcasts has been great, because this allows me to like leveraging other people's podcasts. Like for example, now all of your listeners are going to get to know a little bit about me. Right? So then if I say, hey, if you want to learn more about me, follow me on Instagram at Real Diego Corzo, they might begin to follow me. And then, so I've done a few podcasts like that, from that perspective, where I'm sharing my story and then they follow me after that. And knowing too that at the end of the day, the people that continue to follow me or stay engaged, those are sort of my avatars, right? Because they're learning from me. They are following me for a reason. So it's also like, I consider myself like a lifestyle realtor too, where like, hey, I have like a lot of people would say, hey, Diego, when do you shut off? Like, do you have a personal IG and a regular? And I'm like, no, like, what you see is what you get. That's me. And I feel like that is one of the best ways for you to create a personal brand.
Yeah, totally. And I'm kind of doing the same thing right now. Like, I realized now that I left my job and stuff, I really would like to grow the personal brand side, or at least like make it more accessible to people. So then hopefully they can find the podcast more and learn a little bit more and all that sort of thing. So you'll be amazed what people, they just like to see what you're doing, whether you're, cooking dinner, or you're hanging out with your kids, or you're doing a real estate deal or something. And people like that, because then they build familiarity with you. They feel connected to you. And then you build like a true like friendship following where
exactly.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, Diego, I appreciate all this information. This is great. Where can people find out about your mastermind, your Instagram, they want to buy property in Austin, all that stuff?
Yeah, for anybody that does want to get started, like with house hacking or anything, check out ratrace2fi.com, ratrace2fi.com. And they can find me on Instagram at Real Diego Corzo. And just send me a DM, send me a message or something. I'm easily accessible. So I'm here to help. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, Diego, thanks for that. And everybody reach out to Diego. Thanks, man. You have a great afternoon.
Cool. Thank you.